You want to start from the questions? Yes, I would start from the questions because about you. I can talk about the cooperation with the director, etc. I'll tell you what absolutely killed me. I saw a huge number of movies where non-professional actors play. Sometimes it looked very very bad. Usually it doesn't look good at all. In features which are not part documentary, but it's just a feature. The more feature, the worse it is. The more documentary, the better. In your case, this moment when I really was on the other side, I think it was. I don't think if any other movie I can find in my memory that to tell you that I was just in the movie inside, that I was a participant in all that, and I think that's not the macabre character of all this, because it pulls you in very quickly, but your camera and your sensitivity, the editing, which holds certain things, which carries certain things. We never saw those terrorists, but maximum to up to the knees. That really worked on my imagination. I was very interested in your approach, in your workshop, in your toolbox. How did you know that this cadre, how this shot with the terrorists? I understand that you didn't want to show their eyes, but when did you find this courage of being more independent with the camera? Because everybody knows that you are Wojciech Staroń and you are always independent with the camera. But when did you understand that this is your style? Did it come from the great amount of work you put in working with others? Because you make like 4 or 5 films a year. No, not that much. I wouldn't be able to do that much, but the thing you're asking about is stems from the fact that above all, I'm interested in the story. Whether it moves me or not, I need to be moved myself with what I'm filming. This is the basic thing. Yeah. So first of all, I like to film things that are important, because then this becomes important for me, and then I'm fighting for it to be to be as pronounced as possible. And of course, this always goes hand in hand with the director, with what he needs, with understanding the story. But this impulse to have this feeling for this is always there, so that to be discovering this story afresh every day, and even despite some concept which is very important, of course, and which you define earlier before the film starts. For me, it's a very important moment is here now in front of the camera. The moment of this energy caught. What would that would start during the filming. I suggested the form to this form of preparation to the director, that because we had 3 protagonists, they were kids. I decided maybe we will be able to somehow on low budget to get those kids for 2-3 weeks to a location for a scouting, instead of us sitting on Zoom or meeting and talking about the script. Maybe we should go there, and we found the main locations beforehand. We had the locations selected, and for the second stage of preparations, which was the writing of a technical script, instead of writing a technical script and dividing this into frames and I will be sitting in Paris, you will be I will be sitting in Warsaw. We'll do that, but it will almost be, as far as I know, live. It won't be very helpful for us. What would be really helpful, maybe rehearsals with actors in the locations, because they will better understand the story. We will befriend them. We will get. That was very important also for me, because the director took part in the casting, and he had certain rehearsals with the actors planned, but I would enter this process at the very end. And that wouldn't be detrimental, because this movie, from the very outset, I felt that the camera has to be very close, that it has to breathe with the protagonist. That from this distance, you have to be almost locked with them, with my lens. There is it's like a human connection, not only professional connection, that okay, I will set you up, I'll set up the camera and we'll make a shot. No, we had 40 something filming days, so, and this boy is all in almost every scene. I think he's not in one. And we've been together. We were the main pair working there, and we were working all the time. And for me, it was very important to meet this boy and to somehow befriend him. And even though he didn't speak French but Arabic, and we found that we understand each other. The body movement, he understood a bit of French, so we tried to somehow get in touch. He was also very into his role. He wanted to do the best job possible. Sometimes the actor wants to do something, but it doesn't work well. Here it seems he had this need to move this character to the screen. He was, I don't know how to call it, but he was very moved by this, because he came from a similar village. He lived in similar conditions. That main protagonist. So when he was, for example, handling goats, his colleague stepped on a mine and he was severely wounded. So he knew this drama from his own experience. The whole Tunisia was shocked by these events, by this murder. And he had this deep feeling of mission of transferring this story to the screen. And he really devoted a lot of his own focus. Like, he was very, very serious, even though he was 13. He was very much into it. He really wanted to work. You could feel that. And this idea of those rehearsals worked very well. Because we went through the whole script with those rehearsals. When we were thinking which scene should be put where, how to look at it at which time of the year, I filmed it with some small alpha, I would say very rough shots. We were looking, it was a bit of a blocking, you would say, what you do on the set later, based on some sort of ideas, script ideas. We did that a month before the filming, and it worked very well, because then we would enter the set and we knew and say, yeah, okay, you can see these are the pictures from this blocking when we tried to play all this. In terms of casting, did you? He was selected from among 500 people. I remember Zwiagintsev. When he selected a child for his film, there were like thousands of kids. Here, the casting was very long. Does it come from? They were looking for this boy for half a year, and these kids were telling some stories. Each kid was supposed to their story during the casting, and Max had 5 minutes for this. And then when he started, he was telling the story for 45 minutes, and nobody stopped him, because what he was saying, it was so interesting. So from the moment they saw him, they understood that he's the boy. You don't have a single bad character. Yeah, but the grown-ups are actors. Who's the actor and what was the equipment? Alex Samini. and the actors were mainly and the grown-ups were professional actors. Yeah, maybe I would say they would say not very famous ones, but still they were professional actors. But the main, I would say, the main characters were actors. But it makes huge impression, especially that we don't really know actors from that region. We don't know African movies. Rather, I would say we understand the Nollywood idiom, and we treat it as more of a fun that there's an African cinema. So, have you seen their Tunisian movies? Did you know these actors? I understand that the director knew their capabilities, but where did he see them? In the theater, in the cinema? What did it look like? They were his friends. They were his acquaintances. He knew them from theaters, from other movies. He lives in France, but he works on and off in Tunisia. So he did his 2 short stories in Tunisia too. He knew this. I would say he knew. He was a theatrical director throughout his life, and he recently turned more in towards movies. And it seems to me that what we don't like in this cinema, in which we feel certain artificiality, but the same is with the European cinema. If you don't have a good topic, people don't know how to play and they pretend. And here the script was very transparent, especially that it was a true story. I think the actors themselves were very well selected, and the director also worked with them beforehand. We made very much shorter tests with them, rehearsals with them. The older actors came maybe for 1 day during this blocking of hours. So these scenes at home, we tried to prepare them very quickly to. But you could feel that everybody is very engaged in that story. They have this feeling of mission. I also took this over from them, that for them it's such an important topic for those people, for this community, that it was extremely important for me. It's great when you work on something and you experience that yourselves, when you live the emotions, because we were in the mountains, and the local fixer said, we cannot go on that mountain because there are terrorists there, so we can stay here. And we had a location, for example, where we were protected by the army. We had to retreat every evening to the safe place, because they said, well, the temperature, there was a certain temperature there.
Halo.
Hi.
Ja mam takie pytanie,
I have a question.
bo patrząc na cały film, ja mówię o plastyce.
When I was watching the whole movie, I'm talking about the graphicity, the plasticity of the film. I must say that the majority of the shots were like from ideal positions of the sun, and with at the ideal weather. So these locations were not only well selected, the time of the day was also perfectly selected. Did you do that during those 3 weeks? For me, it is most important to define during this work on location, to find the camera angle, especially in the natural light, because that's how we make decision at what time of the day we should shoot this. Because if you shoot the same shot in the morning and then you shoot it in the afternoon, one can be interesting, the other one might be not. So is the weather in Tunisia stable enough that you had the situation, for example, that you have to wait or call off a scene because there was no sun? Or I was setting everything against the sun because the majority of the time you have the sun, but there was plenty of we have mists. There were some cloudy days, so I was sort of setting myself against the sun, and I decided if there will be clouds, I will manage somehow another way. Yeah, but this is a film in mountainous area. It must have been difficult to get the whole equipment. Did you have a possibility to use any lighting, or were these only blends, or that was there some sort of a generator there? I was just wondering what it looked like from the production perspective. The house, yes, you could get there. There was the whole sequence, the whole mountainous sequence. No, we use only blends in the mountains, and maybe some black flags too. No light at all. I don't remember any light there. We didn't use any. Yes, there was we used a flashlight. We have a film. We used it next to the house, especially for the night scenes. There were big areas to light. The most difficult was the scene that required heavier equipment. That was gimbal, which in one scene was it was mounted on some sort of a gate. In the beginning, when they were walking up, I was walking up with a gimbal, but then we had the roads which were very stony when they found the body, and they were coming back when they were carrying the the carriers, and we had a gimbal which was carried by two guys on some sort of a scaffolding, and I was steering it with the camera with the joystick. So we had to bring in some experience there, but equipment there, but it was not very something very difficult. So you were holding the camera there, yes. From the directing point of view, tell me, how many doubles did you make with the actors? What did it look like? Was it something that you pressed for because you know the children, difficult conditions? I saw that you had those this magic hour, so very little time to use that lighting opportunity. When there was a magic hour or sunrise or sunset, and you had to catch the sun in the right place, well, then of course I mobilized the whole crew to do it in the proper way and do it in one shot, maybe sometimes in 3 shots. And when we had there was better control over light. It's not that we made some like 5, 6. Sometimes we did 2 takes, maybe 3 takes. It depended on the moment too. One more question, because one scene fascinated me, because such things always interest me. There is a beautiful scene where there is a wind at the end of the movie. There was this storm, etc. No, that was like we had a tornado. It was almost was it planned? No, absolutely. We made a scene suddenly. Was it planned that there should be some? No. That was not planned at all. Moreover, I must say we were really scared there because suddenly something appeared on the horizon. The sky suddenly got overcast, and you can see this tornado, and we all looked at this. We looked at this horrified, standing next to his house, and you started to film this. It was far away, so everybody was, and it was me because we had 2 cameras, and I had my students on the set, a girl from Łódź. I was sending her with a second camera, to make shots, the nature shots. And I say, Desi, because she's Tibetan, take the camera and go take this tree and go this way. Maybe take 3 shots because something interesting is happening. And she went there with the camera. And 5 minutes later, when the wind came and it hit, it occurred that everybody was panicking. They would hold trolleys with equipment. People started to run away to trucks, and some people started to run home. And I went to Desi because I was afraid that she's like 1 meter 20. She's very light, so I was so afraid that something will happen to her. They were all on the ground. They were running. The set managers will stay on the ground because I was afraid that this house, that they were trying to put everybody in the house, but I was afraid that it will fall down. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But we lie down next to the camera with Desi. We're holding the camera together. We are pressing it, and I turned it on, and I took a few shots. So these were like 2-3 shots which were filmed in such a way. But they're fascinating. This is just incredible. No, that was a different. The storm was in a different moment, and it was a true storm. I think it was the last filming day on the location. So in a way, we were lucky. I do have a film out from because my focus puller filmed that for me. I have it on a different disc. Do I understand well that this is a feature debut of this guy? It was his second movie. He made one more movie before about, I would say, this Arabic Spring in Tunisia. What was the behind the scenes of that? What was the I would say, how did you start to cooperate with the author? How did we met each other? We met each other. This is Polish co-production. It was a co-production of Joanna Szymańska and Krysia Kantos, and they presented this guy to me, and I was in Cannes at that time because Małgosia, my wife, she was in some sort of a producer's workshop, and I went there as a viewer, and I met Joanna Szymańska there. I knew her before, and she said, we're meeting this Tunisian guy, and I thought that maybe you would want to meet this guy because he wants to make this movie. It might be your style. And this is how we met for the first time. We started to talk. It was nice. He was also, he's a very sensitive, he was a guy sensitive to the cinema. A great guy, really. So he sent me his movies, I sent him my movies, and step by step, he decided that he would want to cooperate with me. And then so the story goes. Also, we managed to get Polish money for this. So I don't know if anybody would take a Tunisian from France. If you enter some sort of relationship, this is how it works. So I liked working with him. It was a creative co-production. I had the camera assistant with me and a student who was the second assistant, and she was doing the second camera whenever needed. And the technical crew in Tunisia were fantastic. The gaffer who worked with me, he was a gaffer who worked he was now 70, but he used to work with the first Star Wars. Yeah, some of the pictures were done in Tunisia. The interesting thing is they almost don't have their own equipment. So when Americans are making a movie in Tunisia, they have the whole ship with equipment coming to Tunisia. We also had like this big containers with equipment coming from Belgium. So interesting. But I saw you were using Helios, this program for sun positions of the sun. I have the other one, the Sunseeker, but it's more or less the same stuff. It's very important to set up for yourself the light, because then it solves a lot of problem for yourself. So, getting the mood and a nice composition. And what about underwater pictures? Oh, is it my overinterpretation, or are you trying to do storytelling with this image? I'm interested in visual narration. I'm fascinated by how Hollywood approaches things like production design. That color, everything has meanings. I had an impression that you want to tell some story with this sun, especially when the ghost of this boy appeared. Or was it just an effect that you felt that it will look nicely, or did you feel that with this image you want to add something to the story that wasn't there? I remember also that this bag that was hanging, that was fantastic, with the bag that is dripping. That's why you get this the title of this film, that the blood left this path, and you had this bag is hanging on the tree. I didn't understand why. It didn't sort of prevent me from understanding, from enjoying this movie, because I felt it's really good anyway. So, and I felt that the drop fell from this on the lens. Which was it your luck, or do you see this image to such an extent that you know that it will that you will know that it will tell a story? Because Magic Hour was sometimes like this. I said. I was thinking, wasn't it happening for the third day? We had the same sun in the, it was never in the zenith, because I know it's the pictures in the zenith are in high noon are less interesting. No, I was just setting the hour where we are supposed to make the shooting, and every day I had my selection of shots. And the head of plan was preparing the plan for the lighting, and the important thing was the director also wanted that. And because we had this documentation, and I was able to take those pictures of those little films during documentation, which the director loved, then it was very easy that if the director wants something and I want something, we go into this. Because I told him, if we do the same thing in 2 hours, you will not see this bag in a more interesting way. This. Why did this bag made it to the tree? I understand he was afraid to introduce this, but small boy, I understand he it was their special place where he and his cousin they met. It was like their meeting place. We deleted a scene where they're sitting both on the bow. So this tree was their like magical place. This is how I understood this when we were shooting this. So he came back because he didn't know how to show this to the on the of work was very important for me, and it's always additional lighting. Sometimes I don't even like to pimp up my outdoor shots because it limits our possibilities. So let's say, you know, the wind comes, something unexpected comes. You have to be able to change very quickly. So due to the fact that I'm not using a lot of light, I'm telling them that to them, and then they say, give me a bigger comfort in my work. And then we're doing so many magics, so many sunrises and so many sunsets. Sunrises are most difficult because everybody had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think we had like twice at the end of filming we had to get up very early, but we managed to get so many so many sunsets. And this magic hour, we managed to also struggle and get some of this, but it was because of documentation, because of the pictures, and the argument also was convincing the director that because when you know, he liked my shots, so it was much easier. No, that was planned. I knew that it will drip, but I wanted to catch this, and I made this. We made this glass in front of the camera. The set designer who was preparing that through some special effect. I don't remember. He had like this. He was press. He was like a pipe, and he was pressing this so that it was just too good to be random. Oh, it was trained. We had like 3 takes maybe. You know. You know, this blood is done of some sort of a sweet juice. Everything is sticky, so then you have to clean the camera for half a day, even though it was sort of protected. It sometimes seeped through, but the idea was that it drips straight into the. It's fantastic. Yeah. My last question about the lighting. The realism of this place, the inside of this place, theatrically, beautifully theatrically lit, but this fridge. Did you come? Set designer came up with those rubbers, because you could have done that without the rubbers, but these rubbers did the job. Yeah, we had a fantastic set designer. He had a lot of feeling. This house was built. I mean, there were foundations there. So these are the pictures from our preparations. This tree was also not in the script. But when we selected the location, we started. When I was looking with the shots, this tree seemed magical to me. It looked like something extremely interesting. So that's why we put it in the story. We managed to record a number of scenes with that tree. So we planned it all with the set designer, which windows to open, which ones to close, which one to make bigger. I had a roof made out of metal, pressed with rubber tires, but I could move them around. So I could move some of them for a bit, add some other stuff. Or where we were doing night filming, for example, I could light from the top. So it was all prepared in such a way that I could work also with a light and do some filling. It's a bit like a studio. We treated this house like a studio. That's it. That's why I didn't want to hide inside. You had also underwater pictures. I'm also interested, did you get some additional camera there? Or did you... How did it work? You will not believe me when I tell you, but I did that with an iPhone. Yeah, we made several attempts, several tests, but the problem was that the kids couldn't swim. So first we had the whole process to teach them to swim, but then during the trainings, this girl got sort of she got afraid of the water. It was not we had to make it as simple as possible. So first I was thinking I will make it maybe with an alpha with a case. That would be the simplest. In the script we had the C. Then we reduced the C because in the location we had like a pool. So we were like in a B&B, and it had a small pool. And I suggested that we have some attempts in this. Let's make some rehearsals in this pool, and I started to try this and test this. And I was testing this with an iPhone, and then I said, okay, this is what it looks like. Let's put it in a better camera. Then I took a Sony in my case, and I tried to do the testing on the Sony, and the difference was so small, and the comfort of work was so big. We bought a case for this the case for this iPhone. I think it was 13 Pro, but at the end of the day, I think I threw away this case because it only slowed down the work. Because in order to record something, you had to open it, take out this iPhone, and etc. For this 1 meter or 1.5 meter, you could put it in the water with your hand, dive for a sec. I did tests in SE and it survived, and I think the 13 one is even better. But there are underwater shots where the boys are putting in the very beginning. The guys are putting their faces. No, this is a camera. I did it with Alpha, or with Alexa, but very, very close to the water, because you had this impression that they are underwater pictures. No, without getting inside, without getting into the water. Very good, very, very close. So having my own Alpha, I can always take some risks. Tell me, because there is this sequence, I love such sequences when they touch hands, etc. It's a very dreamlike sequence. Is it so that you expected this to look like this? Did you use filters for this? No, I didn't use any filters in there. Was it halation? It was the sun and this dust in the air, which caused this not to be so crisp. In the evenings, everything became a slight, a bit misty, and also there was this of having fun with this closed focus. Was it planned that you were supposed to have this dreamlike situation there? Yes, because we also found this in documentation. But I do remember that this scene. Yes, we found it before. Yeah, we planned that they will stand up at this hour and they will have the sun in the face, but we never knew if there's going to be the sun or the clouds. But if we have had such sun, we started to improvise with those hands, and we managed to get some interesting stuff done, because it wasn't there in the script. In the script, they were just standing first on a piece of rock, and they're talking, and then that they're sitting, and maybe not even that. I don't know if they were sitting in the script. During the rehearsals, we decided they will stand up, they will sit down later. I love one of the sequences. However, I always think it's pretty difficult. The sequence,
było wyobrażenie, czy to było
this
wspomnienie,
imagination or
oni robią tam
recollection when they're going with this truck,
zaręczyn,
and it's this sort some sort of a wedding. I don't know. Did they, no, that was the wedding of the older brother.
tak,
Wspomnienie.
wspomnienie.
It was like
I
like a
to
recollection.
bardzo blisko. No chyba w ogóle na jadącej ciężarówce to było robione.
I think it was done on a truck that was in motion. Was it very improvised? Yes. I asked the director to start the party, and we drove by a few times, and I was there with a brooch, with the wide angle, and then we did one from the external one. I'm really fascinated with the shot that was inside. That it's like in the Wajda's wedding, like in the, no, I like such things. When the energy flies around and we have an idea that the camera would participate in this, that's fantastic. It's better not to stop the camera, not to stop the energy, because everybody's full of hype, and we were saying stop, and they were dancing on, and if they then start, we said okay, let's do it again. Something true, not something that we said to do something spontaneous. They just gave their full. Yeah, I could sense that we were very close to this camera, and we're very close to the portraits. And I'm interested in one more thing, because I really like such shots, but they are always complicated and they take up much time. And one of the last shots, when he's driving away in his car, it's ideally selected, because you sort of had a master shot there. I could see that you could have been sorry, because that was, you could see that it's a big master shot. We've been doing that for 3 days, three magic hours. Such shots are extremely difficult, and I know that from my own experience. And I did feel, I said I would not put that in. He really wanted this reaction of the boy, but without this reaction, it would all be well too. Yes, it took for a very long time to find the right rhythm, because the car had to go well. The actor was not an actor; he was just a driver. So you had to give him all the details: when to go faster, when to go slower, and the guys at the house had to do the staging well. These shots were always multi-layered, in order to have everything well with the movement of the car through all those little holes. It was very difficult. How many attempts did you have to get to the first shot? I think the first good ones was in the fourth take, maybe. But the early preparation, where did you start looking for this movement? A few hours, I think. Maybe 2 hours before we started to prepare everything, mark the position of the car, of the motors. So it took a few hours before we started to shoot. I really love that shot. I really love such master shots. I would probably not make an interjection. I would not do that either. But we were discussing this for a long time with the director. What the last scene should look like. Should we stay with them in the car? Should we stay with the girl in this village? So we made a few variants, that we're staying with them in the car, then that the girl, that she comes back to this village. And in order to make those few variants, I think we had 3 or maybe 4 such evenings for this scene. Evenings in order to have this magic hour. Yes. So we always had 1 hour for the pictures, for example. So before this, we had this exposure, right? On the first day, we had a few days of rehearsals, and just for the master short itself, I remember that with my alpha and with the driver and with some people we've managed to catch there to help us. I was walking around and I had to find this. So the whole crew was waiting for you. So it's difficult to, well, the stress is so high that people would sort of ask me, and can you show it to us? And I was, or in the alpha to the director. And he said, okay, let's do this. And we knew what we were going to do. So we were not able to practice that before the shots, because we didn't want to add the ending to ourselves. So we sort of decided to have it until the end. So we did the prefaces of this shot, so that you don't have a situation where you're looking with the whole crew with a camera. Wow. So the power of preface. Almost the whole movie had these prefaces. The majority of the movie, of the scenes. For me, it was important to understand what I'm looking at, and at what time of the day we are taking pictures. And secondly, in order to catch this story, to see from which distance I should be filming it. Or I went to this documentation and everything was still open. You know, I was wondering whether I should use, I don't know, maybe tripods, maybe from hand, and then I felt the energy of this boy, and suddenly I somehow got glued to him. I used 25 and 35 lens. I wanted to lose if I wanted to lose the background, I took 35. If I wanted to have him more inside the space, I took 35. But I was always very close to him. Low apertures? Yeah, lowish apertures. But you know, without exaggerating, because I had those old super speeds, so I had 1.4 there. Sometimes I wanted to have the abstraction in the back, but sometimes this context of the second of the background was important, even if it was blurred. But this blur was supposed to give us some meaning, and then I would go to 284 so that it still worked. A question that I have, because I did have I was fascinated with one thing, and this child was found as a natural, yeah. So he was but the lack of his tooth is incredible. That this is a fantastic, this is a big power of this character. I'm not talking about the play, but what was the reaction of his father? His father would take him to the dentist, even though that he wanted to take him to the dentist between the shots. They stopped him at the last moment not to change it. So from the very outset, the director saw this is his power, yes, that he doesn't have a tooth. That was my thought when the film started. I was wondering, were these actors? If the child, I said no. If that was an acting child, it would be from a family that would work on his teeth. I thought, was it post-production? Yeah, 2 hours. No, that was impossible. Yeah. Let me just share, because we were talking about that already, but the scene with the bag was really incredible, because we're looking at this and we say, okay, it's finishing, and then you think it's from behind that you see a certain blur. And it takes time and time, and after a few seconds you see what sort of substance that is. So this shot, incredible. I've never seen anything like that. That only you are sort of soaked in this blood, and then you realize what it is. It was interesting to see how this protagonist, this was edited also in a interesting way. You could feel that something will happen here. When it happened, it was fast, and you couldn't see the attackers. Then when you saw him waking up, you could see this macro, this strange take. We were coming back to that scene, and it's also interesting right now that we don't know what it looked like. But because it seems that on his telephone, the films on his telephone showed that he saw this, so he sort of suppressed this memory. Yeah, so it was part suppression, part hallucinations, but he was a witness. When I'm listening to you here, and I know your other pictures more personal, I can see that you're precise like a surgeon. And I think that in this movie, what is incredible is you're led by this space, and you're using situations which are impossible to foresee, but at the same time you see to having no things random. So how often does it happen in your life that you have how do you like random situations? I love random situations. I follow them. But on the other side, you make this control to be fully, and you don't use. I understand with CGI, you're trying not to change this image anymore. No, we once sort of removed a road in one place. Yeah, so we removed this road. Otherwise, there were no effects. I love to be surprised. What is this freshness? It inspires me. What I like to set up for myself previously are the set design conditions.
Nośne, że tam jest treść jakaś w tej scenografii, że światło albo zrobię, albo użyję słońca w taki sposób, że będzie mi się to podobało.
Sometimes I can use the light that I like, etc. I do have certain basic conditions that I'm planning as much as possible with the director and the production in order to have this base. When I want to have a dolly, I will have a dolly. If I have something done in such a light, I will use such light, and not the other way. But within all this, but are you? Let me ask otherwise. Are you coming to the set unprepared so that something surprises you? But you know that if you prepare, you will do something, and if you don't prepare, well, you will have to prepare something. But you don't. You want to be. What do you mean unprepared? Because this is a very, very general question. I think the most important preparation is I'm coming to the set and I'm interested what will happen today. I'm prepared to carry the story, and I'm very interested in life of the protagonist. What will happen to them today? Always coming like this. So if I'm in a film that I like, it's a bit like coming to a documentary. But you did a preface, you talk to a director, you know this story. How can you be unprepared? But it's always fresh. If it's not fresh, it's like reheated food from previous day. So reheated pizza, so it doesn't taste the same. So you need prefaces to. In prefaces, you want to define certain things for yourself. I sometimes treat such things that, for me, preparation is not necessary at some point, but for the comfort of my work, if somebody came from the crew, that there would be some nervousness. And in some communication, there is some sort of a security. If I have a plan, I have discomfort and it's easy to change it. When I go somewhere, I do have nothing might inspire me, but I know how to do it more or less. And if something good happens, if something random happens, it's a sort of an insurance for me. For me, it's very important to have a good set design, and that the scene that we do is true. That I do not have any doubt that it's well written, that these dialogues are necessary, that this is not just not superfluous talk, that there's nothing artificial in the staging. But the basic rule is to have a good set design that gives me this feeling that this world will tell a story. But if I'm going to a place where you have white walls and there's no special idea that there should be something there in like smoke, then I'm always stressed. How do I do this? You know, how we planned something and something went wrong. You always have to have a point of departure. When I have a movie where every occasion is well found and it's very very dense, I have no problem with changing something 180 degrees and to reset everything we came up with and come up with something else. Maybe we should do something in a different way. And this happens so. 20-30% of the scenes, I believe, they were still remade on the go versus the rehearsals that we did. But it's the good scenography that gives you this guarantee, and good actors, of course. The actors who know what they're playing in. From the cinematographic point of view, I'm more afraid of being forced to film some untruth, and then I don't know what I don't know what I should film. If I don't have a main topic, I don't know how to tell the story. If the story is artificial, you do not feel that these dialogues work. The first thing, I'm not looking for different lie. I'm looking for directions and start to talk. Let's listen to that once again. Let's try to think about it. Let's watch that again. Maybe we don't need that scene. Maybe this dialogue is wrong.
Albo w ciszy, wiesz, tak jak, wiesz, czasem operator jak nie wie, jak coś mu nie gra, to powinien wyłączyć wszystko i tam
yeah, so for example, if something goes wrong with the lighting, sometimes we just turn off all the lamps and then turn one by one to see what didn't play well. That's the same I'm trying to do with the director. I'm saying, let's try it from the scratch. What do I need in the scene to tell the story? What is the basic matter of the scene?
Jak sobie odpowiemy we dwóch na to pytanie z reżyserem, to już wiadomo w ogóle jak ustawić kamerę i co tam ma być widać, nie? Jak ona się ma ruszyć. I think there was another sub-question. Do you, after finishing the set, are you hunting for something unseen? Do you try to discover something on the set when you know that it's there? Are you waiting for the tornado to appear? There are situations like that. I really love this. Sometimes my assistants, for example, know that they shouldn't turn off the camera. That suddenly, especially if we shoot with kids, of course, sooner or later, I warn the whole crew that I will turn on the camera and I will grasp certain things between the shots, like the unique stuff. I like that. Cały czas, żeby odkrywać, nie? Że ta kamera odkrywała, czyli nie wykonywała to, co sobie wcześniej zaplanujemy precyzyjnie, tylko cały czas to było, wiesz, świeże. I'm trying to discover everything new, so I like this freshness. Yes, I asked this question on purpose. I remember the movie which started of the guys eating food from the floor. That was your movie. You're talking about the Indonesian. I think it was a war movie. I understand. Wojciech Staroń. Everything was played in such a theatrical way. Every moment was so prepared that when I watched this movie here, I thought that all those experiences from there and here, what sort of path you had to go to get this sureness and this lightness. It was autobiography? Yeah, 2 years ago. Black and white. They were drinking, eating on the floor.
chyba tak.
Yes, it was
Aż tyle
a Latvian
filmów, że
movie.
wiesz, nie pamiętasz tego. Tak, czarno-biały.
It was black and white and Latvian.
Butelki się
Yeah.
nazywało, było teatralne
Nie, no to
światło.
świt, to świt.
Yeah, that was the Dawn.
Europejski film.
It was the Latvian movie.
Miałem wrażenie, że wszystko
And there I
było
had the
prawie
feeling that
jakby
everything was as if
3D zrobione.
done as if in 3D. The light was so prepared.
To był jedyny
But
film,
that was the only movie in life that I did from storyboard, because the director came to me. That was she was so precise that she had every shot drawn out.
Ze scenografem na dokumentację i scenograf, który był też twórcą animacji, rysował wszystko, bo dla niej były bardzo ważne w ogóle ruchy kamery, że ona już łączyła sobie, montowała cały film.
She was editing her whole film inside of her head. You know, she already was prepared when we were going on the set. It was a totally different experience. There, it was not a psychological cinema. It was more of a film essay. It was based on the story of Pawka Morozov, the boy who denounced his father, who informed the authorities on his father, and his father killed him. So everybody knew the story. It's a very, very well-known story in former Soviet Union. It was a bit like opera, so like visual restaging of this story. For me, it was also a very interesting. It's a bit like Tarkowski. Yeah, it was moment. There was long shots.
Już tylko jeszcze ja mam jedno pytanie.
I have one final question.
Jedno pytanie dotyczące, bo oglądam też te obrazki.
Because I'm watching also the images.
A cały film jest też, to zrobiło na mnie bardzo duże wrażenie. Ma takie wrażenie, znaczy on ma taki taki look.
This film has is very bright. It's very sandy usually, but here it looks totally different. This is neutral, yes.
Czy ty zrobiłeś look
Did you have a look?
tego filmu jeszcze przed realizacją, czy ten look znalazłeś dopiero po zdjęciach?
Oh, did you find this look afterwards in post-production?
Po zdjęciach to było, czy to
It was
było
after the
przed
shots or
zdjęciach?
before the shots? No, in this case, I was not looking the look especially before the filming. I was preferring to wait to keep to the standard colors in the camera.
Żeby się za bardzo nie narzucić
Not to superimpose anything on myself, not to force myself in any given way. So when we made these attempts, that was a very cold.
A potem film kręciliśmy w maju, kiedy już było gorąco.
So there was slightly different light because it was a different time of the year. I like to have in the camera the image that I like, that I enjoy. However, when I like it in the rec, it can only be better. This is my approach. With my last movie, I did some loot in the camera because that was I had some other ideas about the color. However, in general, until now, I never worked with prepared loots. Not to overdo it in any way. I didn't have any expectations that somebody would, that some platform or some director would want to take it when it's ready. So I prefer to have it somewhere in the middle, and then we try to do the color correction. Did you record that in RAWs? Yes, I did. And another question to this set design. Do you select somehow the set designers, or you lucky with them? Because I logged the other movie, and the set design was also fantastic. Like this small town, everything there was great. It's finding something interesting next to Warsaw is extremely difficult. In Tunisia it was easier. The set designer is extremely important, especially when it comes to feature films. This cooperation in this trio, director, set designer, DOP. This is where the whole visual part takes place. So depending on the assumptions that we make and how far we go in our ideas and in finding later and performing these ideas, it's a very creative process. I love set designers. For the DOP, they are main partners, because at some point the director prepares the concept with you, but he sort of moves away during the filming because he has so much work with the actors, and the set designer becomes you become his, like you work in a duo. The inside of this house, for example, it was repainted twice, because I told him something that it should be 1.5 aperture darker than its skin. First it was a bit too light, so then I said that he would make it a bit darker, so he made it a bit more. I said no problem. He took out everything. It took him half a day of work, but if it's supposed to be good, it should be good. So it's good if we play in one team. This scene design is always a great, he's a co-creator of the image. He knows which lamps that we will put on. So you can use lamps in the shot with new cameras, very interesting ones. I have a question. I'm wondering, was it like this? You know, in the foreground you had this pretty branch which was slightly blurry. Or did you look in the locations that somebody simulated as if you were walking next to the branch? That if you had anything.
Ten francuski reżyser i operator Lelouch, mówili to, bo on lubił pierwsze plany.
Yes, there was this direct French edition Lelouch who liked something in the foreground, and I like them too. In case of the forest, there's no problem, because you have to set up the camera somewhere to the side, and you can find the foreground, which is good. But I quite often I also put something in front of the camera, and I don't know when he was coming back with this bag, when half of his face was covered by shadow. And I wonder if it was on the location, or was it staged before the camera? Something was put in front. When he was sitting under the tree. I know which scene you have in mind. So now we were trying to do something with this shadow there, so that it doesn't because the sun was shining from the front, which is not really very good. He was sitting under the tree where some of the sun was, the sun was moving. We were trying to keep those branches apart. We had some helpers that would model the shadow on his face. So maybe a last question, because I think we need to finish. What is the reception of this movie? Because I understand this is a very festival film. Yeah, Locarno, that's the film. In Warsaw, it got a special jury award yesterday. Yeah, I got. Do you get like 10 phones more from the business, or after such a movie, not many people call you because they don't know if you reach such a state of the art that people are afraid to call you? No, that it doesn't work like that.
nigdy nie wiesz.
You never know
Kiedy zobaczysz,
who will
potem
see things,
porozmawiasz,
whether people would like or not.
trudno powiedzieć. Nie? Czasem takie rzeczy procentują nawet za rok czy dwa, gdzieś tam ktoś coś
So in a year or two,
komuś powie, a słuchaj, obejrz sobie ten film, nie?
um,
Więc,
somebody will say, watch this film or something.
rzucone
This is already thrown into space.
nigdy nie wiadomo. Nie?
Pytam, bo prowadzicie firmę też, nie? Produkcyjną, więc...
We have a production company. I understand this is a different way of thinking about what is taking place here. Małgosia is taking care of production.
Jestem trochę odłączony od tego, nie? Zresztą to nie była nasza
It was not our co-production. It was done by another company,
inna polska firma,
another Polish company.
ale no nie wiem, wiesz, to
I don't know.
bywa. Ja się cieszę, wiesz, jak ludziom się podoba.
I'm really happy when people find this attractive. I think, okay, let me ask you in a different way.
Trochę nie rozumiem tego,
I do not understand how did you appear in this Harry Potter, and did you had like very commercial projects afterwards?
z takim warsztatem, wiesz,
Because with such a tool set, you go to Hollywood and you do whatever you wish.
nie wiem, czy ty byś w ogóle chciał?
Would you like to or not?
Tak komercyjnego,
Po Harry
wiesz,
Potterze to ja
After Harry Potter, I knew that I don't want to do such big productions anymore because you're just a cog in a huge machine.
w tej firmie, która robiła tego Harry
I was employed as a 650 something person in the Harry Potter production team. So that was like a huge thing, huge phenomenon. They employ people who have to perfectly perform the task they are given. But this is usually a bit below your capabilities, and there's no place for risks because the producer cannot allow himself for any risk. And that's why it's boring, because in our profession, the good thing is to try a new thing, to risk something. And with all these productions, it's all very expensive, and they go down their own route. They have their own viewers. They have their own trail. It's very difficult to change that trail, and it doesn't pay to anyone. That's why it was so difficult to Sławomir, and he didn't have such artistic support in any way. He was very lonely in this. He was looking great stuff there. I learned a lot in terms of these were the times where there was no LED lamp, so I learned how to use all those foils for the plastic sheets for coloring the lights. But I saw that his ideas were not accepted immediately, and the director would go too much on the beaten trail. So what he was doing, what Sławek was doing before with other directors, was much more creative, much more risky, much more brazen. So virtual studio is not something that you would want to test because the risk there is limited to the minimum. No, I'm more interested in real life. And the things the energy I can get from real location, real protagonists, not naturals maybe, but from the stories that looking for this truth in the story. It was an interesting experience because a year after this year in England, I knew it is not for me. I'm not saying that the whole American market is like this, because they have fantastic independent cinema too, and I think there's place for everybody there, for every sort of style. I had an opportunity to work in other places, and I'm very happy about it. Our other leg is Argentina, where I made 5 movies there, and 2 documentaries. So we got like really at home there. We're just going there just for some time. Sometimes we're there, we feel it's our second home. We come back to Poland and we feel we're at home here. But Argentina became so much closer to us.
A tam jest fajne kino w ogóle.
And they have interesting cinema there. What I like there is that they have a lot of respect to good locations, set design, good text, the very good literature. Not the film literature, but general. It's a certain level. Thinking with a certain shortcut, certain metaphor. I think that Argentina, they are good at storytelling. And the stories that touch upon life and the human being, even though that is Cortázar was trying to put everything upside down, it was always close to the human. And it is somewhere inside us, that closeness to human beings, which I like.
Wojtek, dzięki za
Thank you, Wojtek, for all your movies.
Mam dużo do nadrobienia, bo jak sprawdziłem, wiesz, czego nie widziałem, no to raczej większość nie widziałem.
Słuchaj, teraz kilka filmów tych właśnie argentyńskich tam oni wrzucili do Netflixa.
O, Boże Święty. Boże Święty.